traffic and parking. I'm just wondering, as we go through these, it might help to start looking at that. Like, is it?
Well, the police department obviously has a list of citations they've issued. I mean, parking fines are not based on the amount of citations issued, it's based on the amount of citations paid.
Yep.
Again, that's one of the reasons that staff is recommending doing a final follow-up on using the state tax intercept program to try to collect legacy. You got like about 600,000 of legacy.
Right, but that's old data compared, I mean, I used to work in the tax for the county, but this would be more new data, like how many are current?
Well, the police department would be able to speak what their
Okay.
typical collection percentage is for within the first 6 months of issuing a
That's what I
fine.
mean, yeah.
I don't have that data.
Okay. Do you have any further questions? Do you have questions?
Just looking down the page, I noticed building permits are 44.8, and I would imagine that's heavily during the summer. Would we expect that number to get up to 100%? Is that abnormal? Is it abnormal? Is that trend abnormal? Because I would anticipate that we would be at a higher level when you get to June 30th.
Well, the building permits are noted somewhat seasonal, and I think we're going to be within a reasonable variance there at the year end for building permits. Now, electrical permits, plumbing permits, and reinspection fees are another story. I made note of that in my narrative comments, and I'm working with Bart to try to sort out why we're not hitting our budget numbers, and we will have that answer definitively before we prepare next year's budget in another few weeks here.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, just totally anecdotally, but I mean, just noticing the trend, and just I was pretty surprised by those numbers, just how much construction seems to be going on in the North Shore. So in general, I feel like Shorewood is not immune to that. So I don't know if there's something else going on, or but I don't know.
Which line item?
Just the permits in general.
Yeah.
I am pretty surprised.
Building permits, keep in mind, are usually filed before construction,
Sure.
ideally.
Right.
So again, we're gonna do a little more exploring. There was an interim staff member last year during budget development in the planning department, as well as a new fee schedule being proposed last fall. And we're really just trying to knuckle down why we've got budget variances. If it's just a transition issue, we just have to get caught up on. Because they have their own software program that doesn't necessarily transfer, so perhaps there's some background things on there. We'll get that worked out in the next month.
My guess is it could be inspector specific too. There are certain inspectors that may have changed or
Again,
more things,
absolutely.
and then reinspection fees.
Well, one of the
happened to me.
things we're looking at as well.
So it could be, depending on who the inspector is. For trustee Warren's comment though, I would assume the comment somewhat seasonal in here means that summer is the hot time. You would expect to see a larger percentage, like 69, and then when winter hits, you go
And
down.
this is through June 30th.
This is through June, okay, so maybe June.
July, August,
Third quarter.
haven't really hit that.
Okay. For the police department under training grants, was it last year they had the sensitivity racial relations or training of 20,000?
I'm not aware of specific training programs for the police department, but what I can tell you is when external agencies make requests of the department to do specific activities, generally that requires police overtime. So we've got, I believe it's labeled training overtime.
Oh, and expenses?
In the police department
I
budget.
thought they got a grant. That's the only
And
expense.
then when the grant comes in, we have training or other grants, and the two should have some symmetry to them. There was a couple of years where we had a lot of additional enforcement activity, and overtime was just really high. But a lot of that was offset by grants, so we wanted to have a better separation between departmental operations and special activities, so that's why we got those in there.
Let me get to expenses.
Just recollection, talking with you in the past, if you can remember, this is a while ago, so I apologize if I remember this fuzzy, but I believe there was a budget amount. But I never remember, yeah, but I don't ever recall being taken to a grant. I think it was just
in the budget?
proactive.
So maybe it's just like a training, isn't it?
Departmental training, you mean?
Yeah. We'll see it in the expense. Okay.
Page 7?
Page 7. Yes?
A quick question, and this was reflected in your notes as well, but recycling rebates, you know, it's 0.0% new contract. Is this something where we won't get, basically going forward, we're not going to be receiving a recycling rebate? In other words, is this kind of out of the revenue stream going forward due to the new contract?
Well, 0.0, number one, refers to the projected budget, which is not filled in for anything. So,
It's
not that 4.3% is much, that's not hurt. You know, we've got a new contract, and there's been some billing issues there. There's been some changes in expectations between the old contract and the new one. I know Leanne is working with them to try to straighten some of that out, and when it does, those revenues will come up a little.
Can you explain what that means? Now, this is like the 4th time we've asked the same question, and it seems like months or years gone by. What does it mean that we're working out? I mean, either we signed a contract where we get a rebate, or we didn't. Yes, Leanne, sorry.
Well, to first quickly reference Mark's statements about working it out, we're finding some discrepancies in the billing in that they're not always matching exactly what was signed in the contract for the unit prices. So that is a continual thing that we're working out with Waste Management, and I'm fully confident that we will get that straightened out and that those, anything due to the village will be credited back. But it has been a process.
So they're, in your opinion, they're overcharging for unit costs?
They absolutely are.
Okay.
The numbers don't match the proposal, and they're aware of it, and they've committed to working through it. But, you know, billing is not done out of their Milwaukee office. It's done, I'm not even sure where, somewhere around the globe. But in reference to the rebate structure is very different from the structure under our old contract. Under our previous contract, it was 50% of the proceeds from the material sales. So, you know, they collected the aluminum, the paper, etc. They sold it on the open market. If they got $100 for it, the village got $50. Under the new rebate structure, which was a part of the new contract, the village receives the net proceeds less $55 a ton processing. So if the proceeds from the sale are $100 a ton, the Waste Management subtracts $55 for each ton of material sold, and the village gets the remainder. Which, you know, on the face you look, well, maybe that, I think you've probably all seen some of the reports about tariffs and scrap prices in China, and the bottom has gone out of the scrap and the recyclable market in the first half of this year. And there has just been no revenue whatsoever.
So that would be true of any recycled good. Is it by ton? Is it because paper, the lighter stuff probably is getting more money, and it's actually the heavy stuff like the scrap metal that went down? I mean, why?
To some degree, though it's been relatively, I wouldn't say uniform. Every classification of material, the sale price has gone down. Some has gone down more than others, but plastic, paper, glass, cardboard, tin, aluminum, steel, you name it,
But
the
you see
prices
what
are
they
down.
did, somehow, in order for them to make more, keep more of the money, they used the word ton, which means they assume, I mean, it's heavier stuff, so it's, they get $55 a
No.
The village gets, for every ton recycled,
Mhm.
rather than all the material and just the proceeds, it's based on ton now. So if
No. It's always been based on.
so in
The
the old
ton.
contract, it was 50% of material sale.
Mm-hmm.
So anything we sold, we could sell cups,
Yep.
paper, we would get that. And then the new contract says we net the proceeds less $55 a ton.
That's,
So
there's
there's
so there's a
weight in there.
processing fee of $55 a ton, that is subtracted from the total material sales. So we average between, it varies, but let's say between 70 and 90 tons of material a month. So you take 70 times 55, 90 times 55, whatever the total tonnage is, and then that amount is subtracted right off the top. Waste gets to keep that no matter what. So it is,
So when we're getting $120 a ton in sales, that's not so bad, but when we're getting $70 a
120
ton.
less 55, yeah, it makes a big difference.
Then, sorry, just for clarification, because I haven't seen that contract, but I'm assuming that that charge is in addition to their charge for pickup, is that right? Or is that?
It's not a charge. I'm sorry.
Like, what our contract is for, like, we're paying them for pickup
Right.
of the materials and in addition to this $55 per ton fee. Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay.
Well, the
So-
$55 per ton is part of the rebate structure,
Right, which
which
is
is
separate.
completely
which is-
independent of the, yes,
Right,
the
okay,
collection.
I just wanted to.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Um, s-
What else?
I have something else, hold on.
I have a question about the cart sales. I'm assuming that those are the recycling carts, is that correct?
In previous years, they were, yes.
Okay, and we're at 17%. I'm assuming that that's because everybody got a cart
Right.
just a few months ago. But are we, I guess, do we adjust from there? Because I'm assuming no one wants to buy a cart or needs to buy a cart.
Yeah, we're gonna be a few $100 light on card sales, you know, just a matter of.
Well, we're at, you'll see later, 200 and something just to buy them, right?
That was a lot.
So, yeah, are people buying two? Is that why there are card sales in here?
Those carts, that cart sale revenue would have occurred prior to the distribution of the new carts. When people called, we always were, very upfront and said that you can wait another month, or 2 months, or 2 weeks, or whatever. They'll be distributed. And in some cases, people did not want to wait, so they bought a cart.
Great. So for state transportation aids, it says 733, the adopted budget was 733,000. And I was just reading the long range plan and the line across says 220. How does that get divvied up? Does it all come in here?
You might have been looking into the capital plan,
Oh,
this is
yeah.
a general fund.
Okay,
It's
Oh, I see.
split between general fund and capital fund.
the total
And that
is,
is one of the things that we will shift to adjust to maximize our leverage for expenditure restraint
Right.
and then final budget.
I get that.
So it shifts, but for planning purposes, we have to make some assumptions, so.
Okay, so it's 733 plus 220 or,
We'll see what the capital number is, I don't recall right off the top.
okay.
It'll be,
All right. And then the last question I had was the rental income for Hubbard Park. When was that set and has it ever been raised?
Well, we've got a contract with Hubbard Park that describes our rental agreement. The challenge with that contract is that the budget's prepared in September, and we don't actually know what our revenues are going to be until March of the following year. So we, assume things are going well and have a little incremental increase, but last year's final numbers were a little less than the prior years, and rental is based on a percentage of sales. So, I'll be touching base with him informally before this year's budget, but we'll probably revise that number down a little bit for 2019, and then see how the actuals come in at the end of 18, which is actually in like February of 19, and then we just kind of,
Do you know when that contract expired, like when we renew it?
I think there's 5 or 6 more years on it.
Okay. All right. And then the 264, 376, is that again that just debt service from the reserve?
That is your debt stabilization. Yes.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Otherwise, we'll go to page 8.
And again, this is just a big budget roll-up, department totals.